Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I am your host, the Lore Dude. Hope everyone's having a decent week. It's been an interesting week on my end. We pushed through KOTOR and Shovel Knight in a week, which actually is far less than I would like to get done, but you know, whatever. 2 games in a week isn't bad considering the length of the games you guys usually have me cover. This coming week, starting tomorrow, we will be covering Disco Elysium. And I don't remember what after that, but if you want to know the answer to that, you can just check the website. The website. Good morning, Hazardous Berenian, Lord Aramont, Lex Scoopster, Innocence, Cordoon, Platty, The Bartman Dilemma, and Biodegradable. What's up, everybody? Oh my god, I'm just sucking this morning. Hello, Aethel. Hello, Snufflegrunt. Oh wow, I missed. Time Lord Luke, what's up? Ritu, Black Vial, Cool Walker, Takoida, Blue Wolf Alex, Chocolate Rob, Pave Maniac. Apparently Duskers will be next. I'm not sure what to think of that one. We'll see how that one goes. Hello, Durg the Durgan. Whoop, I screwed that up completely. Chase Fullerton, Ruth Peleg. I hear she's one of the most ruthless of all my viewers. I asked her to do the lines for Queen, and she said, sure thing. But in exchange, I must destroy all other competitors. And she didn't, like, bribe them or anything. No. She went to their houses and busted their kneecaps. It was terrible. It's okay. She healed them afterwards. You know, you gotta have the full circle there. It's going to be part of the topic. Yes, Hazardous. Show news. Some of you are probably wondering what the result of the straw poll was. Well, the mere fact that, the mere fact that the next few games we're going to be looking at on the show should probably answer your question about that. In an overwhelming majority, you guys voted for us clearing through the old stuff, the stuff that's been in the queue for a while. Now, there's games that have been in the queue for a while that are not on the list yet, but those are probably going to be the next games up once we get there. So that should be fun. Hi, Mirror's Ass. Hi, Max Time. Wow, it was too early. It's weird listening for audio cues when you don't actually have audio to listen to. I also want to give big shoutouts and gratitude to The Count, who I don't think is here right now, but he has finished almost all of his lines for the Lorewalker Theater. Almost. He literally has 1 line left. 1. And you're probably thinking, well, what's the line? What will be the very last line recorded from Marcus in FF9? And the answer is the word bro. I'm serious, by the way. The last recorded line of dialogue that I'm missing from Marcus is the word bro. Said kind of like, bro, in exactly that tonality there. I mean, there's not much I can do about it. I do need the line. But other than that, he has finished all of Marcus's stuff for FF9, which is awesome. It's another major character done. Good morning, Colin Peluso and Baron. And Righteous Ham. Some of you may or may not, speaking of the website, well, let's talk about FF9 first. So FF9 Theater is getting to the point where it's actually really, really close to being done, with one rather large exception. And that would be the main characters. So, Saldir, that is to say Steiner, is done. Aiko is starting work, you know, Amarant is starting work, is getting a decent amount of work done. But I am at the point now where basically what I need is for the main characters to finish their lines and get them to me. I have actually reached out to each of them individually and privately to kind of reconnoiter and make sure we're still on that, because I'm officially at the point where I am waiting on them and not really much else. I am still missing a few scattered lines here or there for some of the NPCs, but that's the kind of stuff that could literally be done in an afternoon at this point. So, that's basically where we're at with FF9 Theater. So I still need, I actually made a list of people, but I don't think I have it available. And I'm playing Metroid, man. I can't pull up a list. That'd be ridiculous, not unless I'm on an elevator. Ah, looks like I deleted it. But yeah, basically I need Ruth's lines, no offense. I need Ruth's lines, I need Reximus's lines, I need Ryokami's lines, I need Galtori's lines, I need Savacom, and killing you. I do need your lines, Berenian, although there's not many, but I do need them. Aw, almost pulled that off. I need many lines, but it's all from main characters and a few NPCs. I mean, I do still need NPCs' lines, don't mistake me, and they're still important. I'm not trying to say they are not, but like I said, I'm getting really close to the point where the theater is basically done. I've already started doing some of the polishing passes next. What game is next? At this point, we'll see how long it takes to get the main character lines done. Because, yeah. I'd say Vivi is done, but he's not, but there's actually a specific reason for that. And that's because I have spent most of my time working on other things lately. But I have no particular worry about getting Vivi's lines done, because after all, my lines don't need to be done until everyone else's lines are done. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be voicing, I don't know, 9 or so additional NPCs once we finish with the other main characters. Tetris Theater. Starring absolutely no one. I'd like to say that I'm not thinking about the next theater. It'd be a lie. Because I am absolutely thinking about the next theater. But I'm thinking about Arathrobo even more. I mean, last night I had this really nice dream about Arathrobo. Oh, it was amazing. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, Arathrobo. Very much obliged and appreciate the sub. Thank you so much. And I will put that towards Age of Decadence in just a moment. You know, what's funny is, Ruth, is I actually have considered doing exactly that before. Probably not going to happen, though, in the interest of fairness. Well, it depends on what your mic sounds like. And that's really what that boils down to. Ooh, that's actually really bad RNG there. So, I felt like I had one other thing to talk about. We had the straw poll. Oh! Website. So, some of you may or may not have noticed, we actually have a new feature on the website, and I don't blame you for not noticing, because nobody goes to the website. It took the better part of last week to actually set it up, but it is set up. If you go to the website right now and look at the funding list, you may or may not have noticed that you now have the option to sort by how many people have funded it, as in to directly show the exact number of people who have put interest into a specific run. That is also, for anybody who hasn't figured that out yet, what the number in parentheses is. That's actually an automatic script thing now. I don't have to put in, you know, such and such name, parentheses, such and such. I just have to put in the number of funders, and it will automatically add it to the end of the title. So, that took longer than we thought it would to set up, but it is set up, and so now we have the ability to show that in addition to all the other funders. If you sort by funding, by the way, the list looks hilarious in my opinion. It kind of shows the disparity between amount of money put and amount of interest put, because, you know, obviously there's a far larger amount of games that have decent interest and not very much money put towards them. That's pretty much the 80-20 rule in visual presentation, if you want to just get down to it. Yeah, the list is very long. That leads me to another bit of news. I've been thinking about this for a bit, and as much as I, you know, am fine with people putting money towards new runs, I've decided to no longer allow people to put money towards new runs. I screwed that up. Okay, whatever. In other words, we're officially locking the doors on new runs being added to the list. Because people keep adding stuff, especially now that we're allowing people to put Patreon money towards it. And a very, 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 very large number of runs have basically 1, 2, 3, or 4 people putting money towards it. And they're just sitting there, you know, not happening because the people are putting money towards other things. And so there's 2 big reasons why we're shutting this list down. Let's be clear about this. Reason number 1. Stress. I know this sounds so stupid and you guys are going to make fun of me and you're right to do this, but seeing that list stresses the crap out of me. It is a gargantuan list, and that is not helping my emotional state of mind. Reason number 2. it's getting to the point where if someone wants to put money towards something, they're just going with the quickest, easiest answer they can. You know what I mean? I've heard from several people who do this, who are like, well, I'm not sure what to put on the site. So they just decide to put it towards something, and it's usually just the first thing that catches their eye. And I mention that because basically the list is getting too long to really do a feasible job of going down the entire list and deciding what is worth, being put on. Or being put towards, excuse me. In short, it's too long for me, and it's too long for you. Make sense? Now, yes, obviously vault runs will be able to be devaulted still. I mean, duh. That's the whole point of the vault, is to make it so we don't delist runs. But that's part of the other problem. I don't know if you guys have looked at the vault yet, but the vault is huge. That is not a small list on the vault. And that's in addition to the stuff that's already, been pulled out of the vault. So, yeah, we're cutting that off. No more new games. That does mean I need to reach out to one person who actually wanted to add a new game with this Patreon cycle and be like, new. But I'll reach out to them individually when I get there. If I might add one other thing really quick. One person said, I don't see why the big list is an issue. Why don't you just stream more? I'm just curious if anybody else has that attitude before I mention that I'm already streaming 52 hours a week. How many of you guys work 52 hours a week? I'm kidding, of course. I work more than 52 hours a week because I have other stuff to do other than just streaming. Anyways, long story short, we're chopping that off. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I really am. And I know you guys don't believe me, but I actually wish that I could actually stream more and get through this stuff more and not have to sleep and blah, blah, blah. But I'm about to die because I'm an idiot. This is actually really bad. Yep. There's the death. Oh, wow, I didn't die. Holy crap. Whew. I have 9 health, but I didn't die. I have trouble sleeping. I've always had trouble sleeping, but that's not a new problem. Even when I was a child, I had insomnia issues. Yeah, I've actually heard that complaint a couple times. It's a minor complaint, but it's still there. The complaint is basically that I produce too much content, which is an interesting problem to be having. Do I equate streaming to work? Yes! I absolutely do. But yeah, there's a reason I take ZQuil every single night in order to be able to get to sleep. Mom has been trying out a few things, suggestions basically, on how to get me to stay asleep, which is the other half of the problem. Is that everything? Oh yeah, next week we are going to be, so next Saturday actually, we're going to be doing a half stream. As in, like today. And that half stream is because we're going to see the Sonic movie, which you guys funded several months ago. Yay! Well, that's an interesting question, Baron. It's possible I am addicted to it. I actually don't really know how I can tell that, because I have really hard trouble getting to sleep without sleep aid. Now, that's a going forward and backwards problem, so I really don't have any measure of distinguishing that. So it is possible, but I don't care, because I do need to sleep. So, shrug. In short, if I don't take it, I have trouble sleeping, but that's not a new problem. That's a problem that existed before taking the sleep aid. A half stream. So, Adam, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I do 2 streams every day. One from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and one from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So, it's a way of just divvying up the work schedule, basically, and thinking in terms of stream blocks. And that's a change we made about a year ago at this point. And each of them, excuse me, it allows me to do more with the schedule, basically. So today, for example, we're only doing a half stream. I'm only doing this and the 2 Streamination streams, and then I'm going to go and get errands done, because I didn't do that last week, because I was trying to finish whatever game we were playing. I forget what it was. Whatever it was before KOTOR. I actually don't remember what the game was. But either way, that's what we were trying to stream. So to the next Saturday will be the half stream day. I usually take 1 half stream day a week in order to be able to get things done with my life. And I'll try to get my errands done as I'm on my way back from the Sonic movie. Hang on, Elizar. I'm really busy. This is a bad time for questions. So, Warcraft 3. That's it. We were trying to finish Warcraft 3. Now, by the way, I actually got a well, I thought about getting a refund on that. I should phrase it more carefully, but I'm not actually sure if it will allow me. They said they were doing any refunds for any reason whatsoever. I have a weird feeling they wouldn't give it to me since I already played the game for like 50 hours. But yeah, Sonic movie. We're going to have a discussion about that. Real quick, I'm just actually curious before we get in there. How many of you think the movie is actually going to be worth a damn at all? And I know that's a really low bar to be aiming for, but how many of you think it's going to be even halfway decent? You'll notice I am not raising my hand on this one. So we'll see what we think of it when we get there. Funnily enough, I will be taking my niece to that show. So here's hoping. Here's hoping. It's probably worth noting that I don't actually like Jim Carrey. Damn. Yeah, I've just never found him funny. I'm sure he's a decent actor. I wouldn't know. But like I said, I never really liked things he's in. We'll see, though. I'm not trying to be too judgmental before I walk in. It's just, I don't like his style of humor. I never have. So, moving on to non-show related news. As I get the Varia suit here. Yeah, I haven't seen it, Rithyak, and I do not intend to. So there's my answer. Haven't seen it, not gonna. Let's move this over here, so I can actually update the current topic thing somewhere. It is. Okay, so. Oh no, Fallout 76 got hacked again. Yes, I do, Nerozaz. So, how many of you know who Dan Houser is? Honest question. I don't blame you if most of you don't. I really don't. Dan Houser is one of the founders of Rockstar, but far more importantly, he's one of the main writers. If you ever wonder why the GTA games have been well written, it's because of him and his brother, well, one of his brothers. He left Rockstar last week. Now, there's actually more to this than that. It'd be more accurate to say that he took a extended leave of absence last year, and I mean like a big old break. And then, after his big old break terminated, very quietly, he left the company. And when I say very quietly, I mean, here, let me show you how quietly this is. Obviously, news people did pick up on this, but here is the specific news tidbit that showcased that he is leaving the company. In fact, if you don't want to read that, and I quote, "After an extended break in the spring of 2019, Dan Houser, Vice President Creative at Rockstar Games, will be leaving the company. Dan Houser's last day will be March 11th, 2020. We're extremely grateful for his blah-blah-blah-blah-blah-blah-blah-blah." And yeah, Rockstar's stock tanked, as is pretty normal for announcements like this. We'll see if it decides to stay that way. That's far less likely of a thing to happen. So I'm going to go and say something that's probably going to be unpopular of an opinion, and I don't care at this point in my life. But, actually, I was accused of being immature for not caring about the fact that people disagree with me. Anyways, so I think the GTA games have been well written since 3. No, I screwed that up completely. In short, when I say they're well written, I don't mean that facetiously. I don't mean that exaggeratively. I mean they have really, really tight, well-scripted writing with good dialogue and very sharp satire. And usually there's just an interesting complexity to it. It's hard to explain in a gravity. But I mentioned that. Every now and again I mention to people that the Grand Theft Auto series is very well written. And people look at me weird when I say that. Because most people tend to associate Grand Theft Auto with, you know, not good things. Certainly not good writing. What the hell is wrong with me? And, yeah, no, it's some really good writing. But you know what's really, really well written is Red Dead Redemption 2, which he also did writing for. As well as Red Dead Redemption, while we're on the subject. Yeah. Long and the short of it here is that if there is a Grand Theft Auto 6 that ever comes out, I have officially lost a lot of interest in it. And I know that sounds horrible to say that, just because the absence of one man. But that one man is one of the key points of that writing team, and the writing has always been what I've loved about the series. That's actually what got me into GTA, by the way. I played GTA 1 or 2, I don't remember which, and I don't think it matters. And I was like, well, that's a thing. Okay. Sure. And that was pretty much my opinion on it. And a friend of mine was playing GTA 3, and they were like, oh my god, this is great, I can go run around and kill people and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, that seems kind of whatever. Sure, I guess. You know, I'm not here to judge. And I went ahead and played one of the missions. I don't remember which one it is. I wish I remembered. And I remember the dialogue was like, well, that's actually pretty well written. And it just kind of struck me. I was expecting, you know, Hollywood schlock, not, you know, that. I'm like, okay. So I kept playing. I was like, oh my god. Oh no, I know what it is. I know what it was. He had the talk show radio up. You remember that? It's actually one of my favorite features of all the GTAs, really. Well, yeah, but this was when 3 was the only GTA that was out near as us. I mean, Vice City wasn't out yet. Yeah, Laszlo. Who is also involved in the writing of the series, funnily enough. And I was just like, huh, that's actually kind of clever. Huh, okay. And yeah, it just stuck with me. And that's pretty much why I got into the series, was because of Laszlo. And the frickin' Chatterbox. Oh, come on. God, I hate this room so much. Yeah, then Vice City came out, and I was like, okay, sure. Oh my god, this is so good. It was pretty much how that went. And then Grand Theft Auto came out, and I was like, oh my god, it's getting even better. And then 4 came out. I'm probably one of the only people who thinks 4 is the second best written of the series. But I do think that, and 4 really impressed me. Yeah, I'm just a straight-up busted, guys. Sorry. And you're probably thinking, well, what's the best written one? 5. No, Zob, I have no intention or plans to do a rumination on Stardew Valley. You can actually see all of the upcoming ruminations on the website. Every single one of them for the entire year is listed there. 5. I think 5 is the best written Hazardous. 5 is weirdly subtle for how overt it is, which is kind of a GTA standard, honestly. In terms of playing which one I enjoy the most, well, we'll find that out when we do the GTA lore runs, won't we? Hey, Larian. Anyways, I suppose I should move on, but I just wanted to share that news because that kind of stung a little bit. I'd actually share another bit of old studio news, but honestly, it's a better mentioned later, so I'm going to say that later. Yes, Mike Romano. Going forward, all lore runs will be reviews for efficiency's sake and for my own sanity. Oops, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I just did that. Whatever. Let's just do this. Alright, so, next little bit of side news. Speaking of things that are ending, Dragon Ball Z Abridged has ended. They're done. Now, I actually have no horse in this because I never cared, but what really struck me about it was the message they left when they were leaving. They said, you know, well, let me actually pull it up here because I have it right here. There's been a lot to talk about the future of DBZ Abridged. We tried to update, and we're planning to do a video about it, blah, blah, blah. We have currently no plans on continuing the saga, blah, 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 blah. The ending of the Cell saga gave us a sense of finality it's impossible for us to escape. We put our hearts and souls into making that finale stand out, and everything we've worked on with the original footage has since left us feeling hollow. Oh my god, people stop giving me money. Thank you very much, Pipeliner Jim. Very much appreciate. And thank you very much, Diesel Edge. Very much appreciate to both of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Pipeliner, what would you like to put that towards? And Diesel Edge putting it towards Dealer's Choice. By the way, the Dealer's Choice bucket is actually almost empty right now because I put it all towards those runs that have been in the queue so long that you guys wanted me to put the runs towards. So that's why that changed. If you were wondering. GTA. You got it. This is a distinctly personal reason, but it's also incredibly important. Many shows lose steam as time goes on, as the creators extend their work far beyond its natural lifespan. We're feeling with this, and it's a scary, depressing thought. We don't want to end up like The Simpsons. Ouch. And yes, we know there's more story to work with, but in all honesty, there's just no emotional attachment and passion for the arc that drove the last 3 seasons. We do not enjoy tearing down and mocking the things we love. We want to celebrate them, expand on them, blah, 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 blah. We're burned out. Reason number 2, we're burned out. It's been an absolute blast, but after 11 years, they've been working on DBZA for 11 years, it's gotten oppressive, which again is a scary thought. I love DBZA more than anyone on the planet, not because it gave me a job, not because it helped the bills, because it got me, not because we invited me to conventions, but because it made me a better person, and yada, yada, yada. There's this whole thing. I'll link it here. Here's the post. Whoops. Here's a post of them saying, hey, we're out. Peace, y'all. And, yeah. I don't blame them at all. This is actually, as horrible as this sounds, this is the logical end for any long-term streamer production. In fact, in reality, excuse me, when it comes to things like long-term running television shows or, you know, series or franchises or whatever, things that arguably can and should be continued, in my opinion, the best and overall, the best approach for something like that would be something where new people work on it. You know, there's new blood added to it, because not only because it'll shake things up, but more to the point, because that way the people won't get stuck in a rut, because anyone who works on anything for too long is going to have issues. That's just life. See Star Trek. For those of you who are not aware, TNG, Voyager, and Enterprise all basically had the same creative staff working on it. And really, I feel that says all it needs to. No offense to anybody who likes TNG, Voyager, Enterprise. I would count myself amongst that list. But let's just say that it shows and leave it at that. So are they working on anything else? I have no idea. I don't actually care, per se. I never liked DBZ Abridged. That's not my thing. I didn't find it funny, and I don't like Dragon Ball that much, so I was just like, okay. So I didn't even... I've basically never really watched it, because, yeah, like I said, no horse in this race. I just thought it was an interesting perspective, and frankly, I do actually applaud them the foresight to recognize that they're done, rather than trying to keep going on and on and on and on, to the point where they, let's call it what it is, become The Simpsons. We could actually call that Simpsons syndrome at this point in time if we wanted to, although there are actually even older shows that have the exact same problem. I do have to admit... Oh my god, I cannot make this jump to save my life. I do have to admit that when I think of The Simpsons, I still think of the funny stuff and the clever stuff and the inventive stuff. And then I sit back and think, God, those episodes were in the 90s. Because they were. Anyways, speaking of television shows, this one's a funny one. A little over a year ago, there were rumors that there was going to be a Resident Evil television show. I think I actually reported on that briefly. And I was like, okay, sure. I do think television is a good format for long-term storytelling like that, blah, blah, blah. But last week, for a few minutes, or actually a few hours, excuse me, a few hours, let me use the right terminology, there was a listing on Netflix for the Resident Evil TV show. Now, if you go to Netflix right now and search for Resident Evil, you will not find that. However, because this is the internet, here's the link to the web archive of when it was actually up. And you can see right there, there's a whole, listing of what it's going to be and blah, 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 blah. Evil Genius, the truth behind the extraordinary criminal case known as the Pizza Bomber Heist is brought to light in the four-part... Oh, hang on, sorry. That's the wrong thing. Resident Evil. Oh, shoot. Hang on. I'm getting distracted. Give me a second. Here it is. Sorry, read the wrong thing. The town of Clearfield, MD has long stood in the shadow of three seemingly unrelated behemoths. The Umbrella Corporation, the decommissioned Greenwood Asylum, and Washington, D.C. Today, 26 years after the discovery of the T-virus, secrets held by the three will start to be revealed at the first signs of outbreak. There you go. That's the actual listing for Resident Evil. Sorry for reading the wrong damn thing. Now, we don't know much about this, but this is probably the closest thing to actual confirmation that there is going to be a Resident Evil show, which puts this a little bit out of the... Good night, Adam. A little bit out of the rumor territory into, actually probably going to be a thing. What do you guys think? I'm actually curious. I mean, television's kind of the way a lot of people are going since the era of streaming shows has kind of changed the way television is made and works for good thing, I would say. Yeah, obviously it's going to depend on quality, Larian, which we have no idea of how to talk about because I will say this, while I'm not exactly a fan of the Resident Evil movies, they were amusing. I forget which one I saw up to. It's the one where the scientist dude who's been around since, like, the second movie finally injects himself with the T-virus and becomes, I am Ultra Mega Dude. It was the one where they kept making Claire clones, which they kept brutally killing for some reason. Or not Claire. What was her stupid name? I don't remember her name. Main character lady. No, not Wesker. No, I actually bowed out of the series before Wesker came to the screen. Although I have seen Wesker. He was started to be showcased. Alice, that was her name.
Oh, welcome. Pay close attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
Thought I said to stop giving me money. What's wrong with you? I do not know, Ventures. I have never studied it in depth, so I can't actually speak with any sort of authority. But they were amusing enough. The first movie was amusing. The second movie had Nemesis, which was cool, even though they did some things with him, but let's not get into that. No spoilers. Yeah, no. I'm not sure what I think of this. I'm actually not a huge Resident Evil fan, which is hysterical to say that, considering how much I praised the crap out of Resident Evil 2 Remake. But it's true, I'm not actually that much of a Resident Evil fan. The first game I actually enjoyed playing in the series was 4. Make of that what you will. Yeah, Resident Evil 3 proper remake, hopefully. Oh, shoot. That's soon. Again, hopefully. Ah, I screwed up. I never played 5. Pause. Oh, RE2R was amazing. Damn it, Hazardous, really? You want to put that towards anything else? I don't have time. I literally do not have time. There is no feasibility for that to happen. I spend 100% of my waking hours working on something or another. It's not like I can listen to it while I go to the grocery store. I mean, I guess I could do that. I don't know, does Disney Plus allow you to do the thing where you close the phone and just listen to it? Because I could listen to the show. Thank you very much for the support, Hazardous. Very much obliged and appreciate, sir. Thank you. Anyways, sorry, getting back to the point. One of the things that caught my eye about this, and several other people have talked about this as well, is it looks like they're not trying to tell a main story Resident Evil thing. That's more like a side story set within the Resident Evil universe. And this is going to sound strange, but I think that's actually the right call here. If they're going to try and do a show based on this long-standing franchise, they should probably go ahead and do that as kind of a test the water sort of a thing. But more importantly, from a creative perspective, it also allows them more freedom. It allows them to try and do more things rather than being adhered to either the movies or the games, and see what people think of it. Apparently I'm an idiot. God, I'm just playing terribly today. I'm surprised I haven't died yet. We don't know, Ruth. Remember, this isn't even an official announcement. The only reason we even know about this is because they accidentally uploaded this information to their to the Netflix search engine, and then took it down. Like I said, if you go to Netflix right now and try to search for this information, it's not there. So this is a screw up or a leak. When I say leak, I should clarify. I mean a deliberate leak, as in, you know, trying to generate hype kind of a thing, which is a good idea. If I'm being so bold, I've said many times before that this kind of whoops, we didn't mean to announce that sort of thing is a good way to try and announce something, because it automatically gets people more interested than if you said, guess what, we're doing a Resident Evil show. We know nothing, Righteous Am. We know one paragraph of information, and the fact that it is probably going to be a real thing. That's it. This is one of the reasons why this is a minor news point rather than a major one. About 4 years, I want to say. 3 years, something like that. Hazardous. It's going to be a while, is what I'm trying to say. But you're right, I could. At least the show will be done with Season 2 by then. Speaking of, let's go and move on. Speaking of ideas that we don't know much about, but, you know, I'm nevertheless interested in enough to talk about. How many of you, this is going to sound like a strange question, how many of you like Quidditch? I mean, If and But doesn't like Quidditch. Do me a favor and don't do that, If and But. Put it towards something else. I know what you're thinking, but why? Because that is almost 100% guaranteed to be locked in with the next schedule slot. The only reason it's not locked in with the current schedule slot is because the current schedule slot is too big. If you pay attention to the website, you may or may not notice that quite a few runs were actually shoved to the very top of the list as a result of you guys saying that older...
Pay close attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
The runs should be put to the top of the list. So things like Thronebreaker, Battlefleet Gothic 2, Warhammer Mechanicus, and there's like one... Oh, Blood... No, is Bloodstain? No, that's not it. There's another one. I have a list somewhere. Are already being shoved to the top of the list. However, if you want to do that, I will not forgive you. I will not prevent you. Either way, thank you very much, If and But, for the sub. Or the... Yeah, sub. Much appreciated, sir. Ah, Before the Storm. That's the other one that's going to be shoved to the top of the list. I knew there was one. And that's a donation from Danny. Danny Divard. I never know how to pronounce your name, but thank you very, very much. Very much obliged and appreciate, sir. Thank you, and I will put that towards GTA 3D. Now hang on, I gotta hit the stream break button for just a second. No, Ruiner is on the website, so that is an acceptable thing. So I'll put that towards Ruiner. Ruiner is in the vault, by the way. Oh yeah, I suppose I should talk about that. So there's a new Warcraft book. I suppose this is a topic we could talk about this. Sure, why not? So what do you guys think about cross media? Yeah, the stuff that is very low funded or very low interest is on the vault, but that's all that really boils down to. Because, I mean, the main list is already a ridiculously gargantuanly huge list. It needs to be cut down at least a little bit. Don't worry, it's not being written by Goldie, whatever her name is. I don't actually remember her name, and I don't care. To be clear, when I'm referring to this, let's say that there's one story where Chapter 1 is told in a book, Chapter 2 is told in a movie, and Chapter 3 is told in a game. That's what I mean when I say cross-media. What I find interesting is, on paper and as a creative person, I love the idea of cross-media stuff. It's something I would probably do if I had the availability to do it. It's also incredibly obvious why people don't like it. Second try, not bad. Kept failing at the jump, but I managed that thing second try. It certainly can work. I will admit, and this is just my own personal opinion on the matter, and Tekoida kind of just touched on this, I do think that most people fail at doing it. I think that the approach most companies use is just not the correct approach. Second try there, too. Not too shabby. But yes, it is obvious that, like, the detriments of doing cross-media storytelling is so obvious and apparent, it's kind of hard to even talk about properly. Because you really only have two choices. So let's say, whoop, right, I'm in the haunted ship, excuse me. But let's say, for example, that you want to tell a cohesive story across a decent chunk of time, and let's say you want to cover most of the specific events in a show, but then you want the movie to be the big events, right? Kind of like the MCU tried extremely poorly to do, and then immediately failed at, thanks to Perlmutter. And yes, I can blame him personally for that, so I don't really feel bad about that. But it can work. I do firmly stand behind the idea that it can work. But even in an ideal circumstance, even when you're doing it properly, you're going to run into a situation where you have two choices. In the movie that comes out, you can basically repeat all this. That is extremely weird luck. Repeat all the story beats from the show so that the people who didn't watch the show aren't lost. Or you can not repeat the story beats and just acknowledge them and have them be part of the narrative, which means the people who didn't watch the show will be lost, because you're not going to bother explaining things for the newbies. And you can kind of see how neither of those are really an ideal circumstance. I'm having the weirdest Fantoon luck here. This is so strange. Now, I will go ahead and be honest. Again, if I were to do such a thing, what I would probably do is I would do option 2. I would not repeat the story beats. I would have them be relevant and just kind of trust that people can either pick up based on context, which would admittedly boil down to good writing, or, you know, rely on people. Yeah, thank you, Blue. Or Biodegrade, I need not jinx this. Or rely on people to, you know, actually be interested enough in the series to go watch the show. Or game, or whatever. As always, this kind of thing is going to boil down to execution, but it's an interesting topic because, near as I can tell, most of the time when people do this kind of cross-media thing, they don't do it for creative reasons. Which, if you're paying attention to what I said earlier, I mentioned that this is a fascinating idea to me. Creatively, as a writer, as a creator, I love the idea of doing a cross-media work. You're probably thinking, why, Lore? Well, because it allows you to do more with the same topic. Like, okay, let's just put this into perspective. Let's say I'm writing the extant. Woo! It's finally happening. Yay. And let's say as I'm writing the extant, I am told, oh, you can only make movies about it, nothing else. I'd be like, but you can only do so many types of storytelling in movies, and movies can only come out every so many years, and they're extremely expensive. There's so much stuff that's going to just sit on the cutting room floor because I'm limited to movies. Right? Now, the real reason people do this is financial reasons, because what they want to do is they want to basically make you pay more money for the same relative content. They want you to buy the book, they want you to buy the game, and they want you to subscribe to their new streaming service they just came out with. Because we got to have 15 more of those. And then they want you to buy the movie. And they also want you to buy a movie like 3 times, don't forget. They want you to go to the theaters. They want you to like have it on Netflix or whatever. They want you to buy the DVD or Blu-ray. So you can kind of see why I find this to be frankly, a no-win scenario kind of a topic. As horrible as that may sound. I don't think... Like, again, I do feel like it is possible under ideal circumstances to do this kind of thing right. But, I mean, how many companies do you trust to do this kind of thing right? Oh, crap. I don't know about you guys, but I'd probably put that list at none right now. That's also true. Sometimes some stories just fit a certain medium better. Let me use another example of that. Let me use a direct example. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but how many of you have seen Babylon 5? Or Farscape. I think Farscape could also apply here. I could also probably use Young Justice as an example of this, but let's stick with those things for right now. Now, how many of you think that Babylon 5 could have worked as well in a movie format? Just a movie, by the way. Like, let's say Babylon 5 gets 2 movies. That's it, just the 2. Yeah, you already see the problem here. Of course you do, because this is just such a duh thing, right? Funnily enough, Babylon 5 is, in fact, a cross-media project, by the way. There is actual lore of Babylon 5 in the story that moves forward in the books, the comics, and the show. And, if you want to argue, the movies. Yeah, I'm with biodegradable. Babylon 5 would be... I mean, it would probably still be good if it was like a 2-parter movie or a 3-parter movie or whatever. But I do have to say that it would basically just be another good sci-fi war movie rather than being Babylon frickin' 5. Whoops. That's okay, I can recover from that. Hey, Magister. So you get my point. And I do feel like this is a problem that that probably doesn't actually have a solution. Other than, do it right, which isn't really a solution. All you have to do is succeed. I mean, duh. God, it's so easy. Just do everything properly and don't screw up. It's not really a feasible answer to that equation, is it? Ironically, yeah, Star Trek. Star Trek actually has this problem in some ways, too. Oh, no. Oh, no. I have completely screwed up. Unless I make this jump. Nope, I'm dead. Yep, nope, that was a screw up. I could have made that happen. Oh, well, we're dead. Moving on. I guess I'll put the game down. Let's move on to our next topic. Harry Potter. How many of you like... Which is not a cross-media project. How many of you like Quidditch? I already asked that question, but then we got off topic. So there's a Quidditch game coming out. It's called Broomstick League. You can watch the video if you want to. It's basically a teaser announcement video. We do know a few things about it. There's a beta that's going to be happening in about a month. it is extremely heavily, like, if you look at it for 5 seconds, you'll probably notice that something looks pretty similar to it. And that's because it's literally based off of Rocket League. Like, you can recognize the engine there if you bother to pay attention and look at that, or if you played Rocket League. Yeah, no, it is Rocket League with some bells and whistles. Now, that being stated, they're supposed to be adding additional mechanics and complexity to it to try and make it, more like a video game than Rocket League is. And no offense to Rocket League players, but I mean, Rocket League is incredibly basic. Fun, basic. So, we'll see. I'm actually very curious what they're going to do with it going forward. But again, this is an extremely early announcement. This is why this is random news and not a newsworthy topic. Although I suppose we should go ahead and move on with the actual topic so we can get on with the Streaminations. So let's go ahead and move on to... there's nothing wrong with basic in Oceans. Team Fortress is basic. The original. People played the hell out of that. Where's my topics? Here we go. Let's move on to gaming thoughts. So here's a really dumb question. How many of you remember Westwood? Does anybody remember Westwood? I'll just close this out. Screw it. I don't know what that is. It's a company. Was a company. It's dead. They're defunct. They were shut down. But once upon a time, there was a gaming company called Westwood who was murdered by EA. They made a series of games. Obviously, they made the Command & Conquer series and the Dune series. And you know what? I don't even remember what else, to be completely honest with you, other than the big one, which is, of course, Earth and Beyond, which is actually one of my favorite of the older generation of MMOs. Oh yeah, murdered, killed, brutally. What happened to them is the same thing that happened to any game company that EA has eaten, with only a couple of exceptions. Let's see here. They made a BattleTech game, Blackjack game, Marseille, Hills Far, Dragon Strike. Mickey's Runaway Zoo was them. Oh. Legend of Cryandia. Dune 2 was their second game that they made under the Westwood label. And then they made many other games, and then they made Command & Conquer, which is the one that actually caused them to explode in terms of popularity and finances. Go figure. God, the last game they made... I mean, I knew this. The last game they made under the Westwood label was Earth and Beyond. Because that was... So for those of you not aware, EA, obviously had purchased Westwood. And then they said, all right, make an MMO. And EA said... And Westwood said, dude, we got this great idea for an MMO. They made up Earth and Beyond. And then EA did everything in their power to hamper and hinder this game. I'm not actually exaggerating here, by the way. The amount of things they did in order to just destroy the success of Earth and Beyond is actually kind of ridiculous. I'm talking they were even taking assets, as in actual physical servers, from the server farms and supporting Sims Online with them rather than Earth and Beyond. By the way, for those of you not aware, Sims Online was also not doing well and was also torpedoed not that long after. I mean, how many of you remember when Sims Online even existed? Because it was just kind of a blip on the internet. Like, hey, and it's gone. This was back in 2002, I think? Yep, 2002. 2002, 2003, and 2004 is when this was all happening. This is a bit ago. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit off topic. Westwood... Most of the Westwood people actually work at a completely separate company now. It's called Petroglyph. Now, how many of you have ever heard of Petroglyph games? Let's look at their games they've made. Universe at War, Earth Assault, Panzer General, Allied Assault, Panzer General, Russian Assault, Guardians of Graxia, Heroes of Graxia, Mythion, Rise of Immortals, Battle for Graxia. I haven't heard of any of these, by the way. None of those. I haven't heard of a single one of those games. Grey Goo. I've heard of that one. I've played that one. I streamed that one. 8-Bit Armies, 8-Bit Hordes, 8-Bit Invaders, 8-Bit Armies Arena. Never heard of any of those. Victory Command was canceled. Forge Battalion, never heard of that. Conan Unconquered, never heard of that. They are working on the CNC remaster, which is coming out. Oh yeah, and they made Empire at War, a game we'll be playing later this month. Star Wars Empire at War, that was them. It was actually their first title. Now, I'm bringing this up for a reason. They're making a new game. It's called Earthbreakers. Now, I swear I have an actual topic here. I'm just kind of meandering my way to it because I really want to make my point as thoroughly as I can here. I'm a big fan of RTS games. I think that's pretty obvious. And Command & Conquer, the original, and Warcraft 1, the original, basically started my love affair with strategy games in general, introducing me to the concept and ideas that up until then I'd never realized how much I was missing in my life. You know, I was like, oh my god, I don't know how many of you have actually experienced that in the modern era. I really don't. But when I was a kid and growing up and going through, you know, grade school and high school, every now and again I would be introduced to something, and the reaction I would have to it was basically, I had no idea how much I was missing this because I didn't know it existed. But now that I have it, it's like, oh, this is amazing, right? I mean, RPGs were actually that way for me with Final Fantasy IV, to use another example. Anyways, so I'm kind of into this, and I see this Earthbreakers thing, and I'm like, okay, what is it? Well, it's an RTS FPS, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now, this is something that a few games have actually poked at and never really gotten to work, in my opinion. The idea is it's an RTS game played from the FPS format. You actually run around and build your base and, you know, make troops happen and blah, 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 as you are in the first-person perspective, running around and actually being part of the fight. Cool. That sounds like a neat idea. And again, there have been a couple of games which have tried that idea before. So I'm pretty interested in this idea. And then I find out that it's PvP multiplayer only. That was my interest going away right there. Just gone. Reduced to zero. Instantly. And then I started thinking about it. If I was to make a joke here, I would say, am I old? Am I getting old, guys? Because this sounds... Again, it's not like it's like, oh, this is crap and I hate it. But again, my interest level in it dropped from significantly high to actual zero. I will not be following this game because I don't give a damn. Damn it, Crazy Norse. But then I started thinking about this. And I started realizing that I have a weird feeling that gaming as an industry is moving towards an audience that I am not. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but I've usually said it when it comes to specific companies or specific franchises. But I've noticed more and more that the industry as an aggregate is shuffling towards things that I'm not in favor of.
Quote, very strong result for a single-player action game.
God, I love it when they autoplay videos when you open a page. Don't you love that? Isn't that amazing? I wish every webpage I went to just automatically started playing ads as soon as I go and open the page. No, I don't need a hug, because I have a topic here. This isn't just me ranting. I have an actual topic I want to talk about. Yeah, by default, it's just how that works. I love that. It's my favorite feature of YouTube. Or, I mean, not of YouTube. Anyways, check this out. This is related to this topic. I'm going to make it nice and big so you can really see this. You see this? Now, I'm going to break this down for you a little bit. That blue, that's upfront game sales. That yellow, that's how much money is being made in mobile gaming. That green covers any form of microtransaction. Now, to be clear, that means microtransactions from mobile and from other games. But I really want you to look at that list and see how big that green bar is in all 3 of those quarters. Really look at that. Process it. Take it into your soul. I mean, for how much you see people being like, "Ran, anti-microtransactions and anti-mobile gaming," that is a absolutely ludicrous amount of money, right? Like, that is an insane amount of money being thrown at this, which means people are paying it. That money doesn't just come out of nowhere. There are people, huge numbers of people, who are paying that money. Yeah, I really do believe that the people who rant about it are the minority in terms of the actual percentage of people playing this stuff. Even whales, which of course accommodate a huge amount of that, are more the 80% than the 100% in my belief. I'm not sure. You see kind of what I mean about the industry moving into a direction that I am no longer the audience of? I'm actually not even opposed to microtransactions as an aggregate, like as a concept. I'm not. If you have a microtransaction that's worth a damn, that is a decent investment for me, that I want, then I have no problem paying money for it. I really don't. But that's not the issue, is it? It's the way they're being used. It's like fire. You know, it can warm you. It can, you know, help mold steel. Or it could burn your eyes out of your skull. It's a tool. It's how it's used that bugs the crap out of me. But again, I'm not here to rant. I swear. Because I saw another comment recently. I'm going to go ahead and link this in chat here. This is actually a quote of an interview by Phil Spencer. But honestly, all you really need to know about that article, you can read it if you want, that's why I linked it. But all you need to know about that article is said in the title. Microsoft is competing with Google and Amazon, not Sony and Nintendo. Now, I actually read this whole article and the full interview, and I looked into it and I was like, huh. Hey, look, an ad that's playing immediately. God, I love that feature. Go away. I looked into this, and the long and the short of it is what Microsoft is doing is they're no longer thinking of themselves as a gaming company. They're thinking of themselves as a... I don't know what to call it. What do we call it? Because it's not gaming anymore. Not really. It's a new industry, and that's kind of my point. There is a new industry that is being developed within the confines of what we currently call the gaming industry. And more companies are trying to shuffle their way towards that. Towards that specific aspect of gaming, which I very much hesitate to actually call gaming. Again, that green bar. Again, the ideas of trying to push cloud gaming. Again, the idea of, rather than selling a product, selling a service. Because they want to keep charging you over and over and over for the same product. They want to basically put in less work in order to get more results. Now, some would call that efficiency. And you know what? They'd be right. The problem is when you push it too hard. The problem... well, let's just call it what it is. It's the BioShock problem. You remember BioShock, right? How many of you played BioShock? Yeah, we're consumers. I actually saw a thing Jim Sterling did about that, and I agree with him completely. Consumers instead of, customers. Bingo, Innocence. The BioWare... I keep calling it BioWare. The BioShock thing... some people played BioShock and thought it was anti-communist, and they're wrong. Some people played BioShock and thought it was anti-capitalist, and they're wrong. BioShock was anti-extremist. This was very obvious if you played the game and went through it and actually, got all the audio files and all that. But more to the point, the actual writers have said flat out that that was their goal. They were trying to point out how just about any philosophy taken to an extreme is a bad thing. And hey! What do you know? Now, here's the really weird question. Do you think that this new live service consumer industry developing within the gaming bubble is a bad thing? Yes, we are, Magister. This is Elwyn Forest. Now I'm going to say something that's going to make every single one of my viewers immediately unsub and cancel all of their Patreon and all of their Twitch subs. I think it's a good thing. There's two reasons why. Just good. Pure good. This is, of course, speculative, but this has been something that's been on my mind for a few months now, and honestly, seeing these news reports and seeing the whole, hey, we've got a new... Seeing Westwood, the actual team of Westwood, which is Petroglyph, going in this direction as well, because that's where the money is, just kind of made me sit back and think, huh. So, two reasons. The most obvious reason is because this is an unsustainable market, which is going to cause some kind of dip, which is going to cause a restructuring of the market. This is nothing new. This is something that the video game industry itself has gone through 3 times now, if you're actually paying attention. Most people, of course, pay attention to the late 70s big collapse of the Atari, but those people tend to not remember the fact that gaming as an industry has done this more than once. It's pretty normal. Every industry does that. Every market does that. Because what happens in every single market is that people will eventually push too hard and too far, and eventually they'll reach the point where they actually run into serious, legitimate issues that they can no longer bypass, at which point the market, as a general entity, pushes back. Yeah, exactly, Master. Every industry does this. Cars has done this over and over, up and down and up and down. Housing. Computer parts. Anybody who buys or makes PCs, custom home-built PCs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the second reason I think it's a good thing. It's a little Darwinian. Because I started thinking about how many games I've absolutely adored that have come out over the last few years. And I realized that most of those games have come out from the indie or AA markets. And I started realizing that what's kind of happening here is most of the people who really want to make really good games are. That people who actually have that kind of passion, real passion, real care, want to put in real work and real effort, do. And tools are available for them to do so. This is demonstrably true if you look at the last decade. Basically, yes, hazardous. I think this is why I'm starting to mentally think of these as 2 separate markets, 2 separate industries, rather than one overall gaming aggregate industry. We just finished playing Shovel Knight. Now, Yacht Club Games isn't exactly a large-scale publisher or developer, but they did make enough money because they put out an excellent game, and then made another game, and then made another game, and then made another game, each of which was better than the previous one. There's a reason that game is my highest rated gameplay game of all time so far. We'll see if it ever gets surpassed. And I really legitimately believe that that market is officially a different market from this live services, whatever we're going to call it, market. You know? As Hazardous also points out, we do still have games that are clearly made for the gaming market, like Spider-Man PS4, like God of War 4, like Jedi Fallen Order. Those games were very clearly and demonstrably designed from the ground up to be for the gaming industry, for the gaming market. Not just because of the fact that they're quality games, which certainly helps, but because the mentality and design philosophy that goes into them is about making a game that you purchase and then enjoy, thereby building customer confidence and enjoyment in the brand. Those games are not live services games. They're not designed to have wave after wave of microtransaction backed in. They were not built, they did not balance those games around the idea of microtransaction. I can use an exact opposite example of this, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, yes, I know they've patched Assassin's Creed Odyssey since then, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the opposite of these games I've just mentioned because it was designed from word go to be part of this second market. To try and get people to play a game and then keep spending money on it. And keep buying microtransactions and keep buying packs and keep buying experience bonuses or just currency bundles. If you're paying attention, I'm trying very hard to not include the quality of a game into this discussion. Because in all honesty, I don't think the quality of a game matters for the point I'm trying to make. You could have a total crap game for the gaming industry and a really good game for the microtransaction industry. I can't think of it as an example of one of these off the top of my head. But I can't think of an example of one of these. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Which also is me making the point that this is not a new thing. But Deus Ex Mankind Divided was designed to have microtransactions baked into it. It was something that the developers were basically forced to shove into it. And they came up with that stupid multiplayer mode, which was boring and dumb. Still a good game. I highly recommend it. It's a great game, in my opinion. So again, I'm not trying to distinguish quality. Quality doesn't really matter for this discussion. I know it sounds strange. Instead, it's about focus. It's about what exactly a game is trying to reach for. I can't think of a name for that second market that isn't an insult. I don't want to come up with an insulting term, because again, that would be duh. It's just a market I am not. The not me market? I don't know. I've got it. If this is the lore market, then that would be the data market, right? No, that's stupid. The whaling industry. I'm trying. No. I mean, it's valid. But no, I actually like Baron's idea better. Although the arcade market is actually extremely valid and very accurate, because you're right. That's exactly what the arcade industry and arcade market was aiming for. But no, I like the consumer market a little bit better. What do you guys think? We've got the arcade market, the consumer market, and the whaling industry. What do you think, Rax? Because you just came in mid-conversation. Yeah, the damn whaling industry. That's true. Consumer is too broad. You're right. That is fair. Dishonored was right all along. I know. What would be a hipster gaming market, Mike Romano? In context of this, because what I am defining as the gaming market over here is just the market of people who want to buy a quality game and enjoy it and play it and own it. rather than a game that is designed to be, to put it bluntly, predatory. I know that word is tossed around a lot, but let's be 100% blunt. That is a 100% accurate word. Like, as many people tend to, you know, be rolling around the circle in this one. The long and the short of it is, the essays and studies and psychological manipulation that go into the whaling industry is legitimately predatory. Like, that's not... I'm technically meaning that as an insult, but it is also a literal statement of fact. Which reminds me of today's sponsor for today's video, which is Raid Legends... Oh, shoot, what's it called? I can't remember the name. Ruining my own joke here. Raid... here it is. Raid Shadow Legends, which is totally a mobile game. Actually, no, you know the one I've been seeing on ads lately is something called Arknights. And they have really, really stupid ads. Like, actually legitimately terrible ads. It's hysterical. No, you want to know who my sponsors are? Look at a mirror. Yeah, I've seen that ad, Sonic Doctor. Forget everything you know about mobile games. This game is completely unlike playing any other game in the world. God. Yeah, no, I like whaling industry. I really do. Admittedly, it's not that self-descriptive, but at the same time, it's kind of like the term Metroidvania. If you know enough to know what Metroidvania is, you know exactly what it means, right? Similar concept. Oh, I don't mind either way out. I'm just making fun. I would rather, to be completely blunt, let me go ahead and get, while we're on the subject, let's just drop another mic here. I would much rather that YouTubers get dumb sponsors for garbage companies like Arknights and Raid Shadow Legends and NordVPN and whatever else, rather than try to rely on YouTube and the ad revenue that isn't coming. Put bluntly, let me say this more simply. I would rather that YouTubers continue to be able to pay the bills by being sponsored by junk than them having to shut down because YouTube. Of course, Lord Harrimont, just like I have to explain no men. We still use it as a term, though. I don't mind. Arcade whaling. I kind of like that idea. It is legitimately a different market, Imperial Star Destroyer. I can see why people could look at the MOBAGE market and the collectible card game market and see them as the same, but please trust me, I don't want to go into it because it's a long discussion, but please trust me when I say they are not the same market. It's like saying restaurants and fast food are the same market. It's not actually true. How is Metroid... Yes, actually, I have seen those articles, and let me just go and give my opinion really quick, Venters. That's stupid. Any questions? Funnily enough, Pokemon Effect is actually on my list here of the many things I need to add to the Lorium list. I'll just have to add Whaling Industry to the list. Whaling Industry. I know it's weird, but anyways, that is actually all I've got today. It's just, that's a thought that's been bouncing around in my head for, like I said, a couple months now, and I finally was able to give vocalization to it. And yeah, no, this is interesting. How do we tell the difference between the whaling industry and the whaling industry? Well, if we're talking about it, it's the whaling industry. But if we are not discussing it, it is probably the whaling industry. Because when have we ever brought up the whaling industry ever? Problem solved. So, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a straight-up buster. Can I say really quick, by the way, speaking of someone who used to live in Southern California, a lot of the dialogue in San Andreas is actually quite spot on. I have actually hung out with people in real life who talk exactly like that. It was eerie when I first played San Andreas. Oh, I know, Hazardous. I've thrown my shade on that one, too. Anyways, hang on. Before we get off on yet another topic, because GTA's been on my brain, not only because of the Dan Houser thing, but because, I've been slowly doing the prep work for the GTA lore runs that are going to be happening probably in a few months at this point. But anyways, let's chop off the local recording.